Good afternoon, Gator Nation. We are back. Florida continues to try to close this recruiting class. Got a big flip, lost some guys. Nobody that anyone on our message boards will be surprised about. General mood right now, Keith, is panic. What can you say to help Florida fans who are panicking?
I don't know if it's worth panic level. I mean, but it's not what you wanted, obviously. We knew all along this was a possibility. What we weren't totally prepared for was LJ McCrae maybe putting off his signing today, the 5-star defensive end / edge. But, Ball was a big pickup. But Amaris Williams flipped to Auburn. We saw that coming. I went and saw him a month ago in North Carolina. I'm reading some of the comments. Went and saw Amaris Williams in November, and just got bad vibes, man. It just did not sound like Florida was going to be able to keep him. And so he flipped to Auburn, and then you've lost Adarius Hayes to Miami today. Now, I guess they're saying, some people are saying, well, Florida decided maybe they didn't want him at the last minute, but the bottom line was he visited Miami last weekend, and he was probably going to flip to Miami anyway. So I don't know how you can really say otherwise there. So yeah, it's not great. Let's put it that way. It's not great. You would like to see Florida close strong. Keep LJ McCrae, get Greg Smith on board, crush it in the portal, and then the panic level starts to go down. But Nick, this is staff that has hung its hat on its ability to recruit and change a culture, right? And if you're not in the top 10, and they're not going to this time finish in the top 10 right now, I think Florida's 15th. If you're not crushing the one thing that you're supposed to be crushing at, the one thing that you said you'd be crushing, then I think there's some legitimate concerns. I don't think there's any way you can say that. Now, here's the good thing. If you sign LJ, he's a difference maker. Miles Graham, difference maker. Aaron Childs, difference maker. Fletcher Westfall, DJ Lagway. Okay, we expect his letter of intent to come in a couple of hours, and Florida feels great about that. So it's not like it's the end of the world, but now it puts a lot more pressure on you to kick some ass in the portal, which they haven't done. Now, you got 3 pretty good players in the portal this cycle, but Nick, they haven't destroyed the portal. They're not Bill Cosby. That's a bad example. They're not Chris Rock. They're not Chris Rock or Eddie Murphy at Madison Square Garden crushing. They're just not. And so they've got a lot of work ahead, and they have to look in the mirror and say, okay, what did we do wrong to not land these guys? And people say, oh, it's NIL. Okay, but listen, here's the thing. How come nobody gives NIL credit when they get somebody? They only talk about NIL when they're not getting somebody. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see, to hear what Billy Napier has to say at his press conference. He's going to put on a good face. I mean, look, the quality in the class is there. It's just the quantity isn't necessarily there.
Sure.
But if you look individually, there's a lot of great players in this class. I mean, Jaden Ball is a big pickup today. Holding on to some of these guys. It's big. DJ Lagway, big. But again, the LJ McCrae thing, I think more than anything else, Nick, has got everybody really rattled. Wouldn't you agree? Would everybody agree? Give me a break.
That's the one. And I've said this will be the third time I've said it on these out of 4 shows. That's the guy you need to hold on to. That's the guy that you need to hold on to. Those are the players that accelerate this rebuild process, which is 3 games under 500 in the rebuild process. So Florida, I think we expected Darius Hayes. I think we expected Amaris Williams. It is what it is with those guys. And there's probably a number of reasons why they choose to go somewhere else. But we have some guys to talk about, Keith, that did not choose to go somewhere else.
Can I say one thing? With LJ McCrae? Just a quick update. I know everybody wants to know. Look, we've heard for a couple months that NIL was going to be big in this recruitment, and it is. But we've heard that Auburn's right there, man. They've gone big, and that Florida is prepared. The people on the NIL side, I'm sure, Nick, you've said the same thing. Florida's prepared to do what they got to do to keep this kid. It's going to ultimately be his decision, but the deals are going to be similar, I'm sure. And Florida's may end up being better. Who knows? But Florida's battling, I guess, would be the correct phrase, the most accurate phrase. All right. Sorry about that, Nick.
Yeah, real quick, Jim. I think LJ's coach would end up being Mike Peterson, not whoever will end up being the defensive line coach.
Yeah.
Not that you're not wrong, not that you're wrong. You'd like to have a coach signed on National Signing Day, but you don't. So the milk has been spilled. I'm done. I'm done crying over the defensive line coach milk. Guys who have decided to sign. We got Triques Bridges, Oregon transfer. Had a hilarious video. He told his granddad that he was going to Washington. Sounded like his granddad was crying before he told him he was flipping to Florida. Big Gator chomps from granddad. Really cool video to see. Keith, I think this is a guy that cornerback, but I think Florida will look for him at safety. Obviously, bring Jordan Castell and Bryce Thornton back, but Kamari Wilson left via the transfer portal, joined Jaden Rashada at Arizona State. I think it'll be interesting to see where they play him, a guy that I think will slot in at nickel or at safety.
Yeah, so real quick, Ryan Lamont is asking, when does Greg Smith announce? It's supposed to be any minute. We expect him to pick Florida the safety. But Triques Bridges from Lynette, Alabama, good program in the middle part of the state. And, again, he played cornerback mostly at Oregon, but he was a safety in high school, so he's probably going to go back to his natural position. He's excited. He'll bring a veteran guy that's played in a lot of big games out at Oregon, a winning mentality. I think that's important too, man. They got a lot of dudes on this team, Nick, that ain't ever won anything. I mean, if you got a fourth-year guy on this program, they've never had a winning record. They need guys that know what it takes to win and have the expectation to win, not just, are they good players? And I think they feel like he's both. So that's significant. So, we're sitting here crushing the program, but really it's all because they lost a couple guys that we knew they were going to lose. Now you could argue that there were no high school backup plans. But LJ McCrae, it's all about LJ McCrae. If not for that, I think everybody'd be a little bit better. But Triques Bridges is a guy that's probably going to be playing a lot next year, battling for a starting position. He's got the measurables of a first round safety, 6'3", 200 pounds. So we'll see. I think that's a big pickup. And plus, that's a guy. Look, you want to have Xavier Filsaime, the guy that they lost, the 4-star safety, flipped to Texas. But that's a guy that you probably year 2, year 3, year 4, you get the most out of him. Mm-hmm. Triques Bridges is a safety. He's ready-made. He's coming in right now. And he's going to play for you a lot right now. And so that probably makes your team better right now. But, then the question is, how much does it hurt you that you're only getting 1 year out of him and Xavier Filsaime could have been here 3 or 4 years? So I get that. But they need to win right now. So, some of these things are actually sort of blessings in disguise in the interim, if you can find a good portal substitution. Long terms where that's where you kind of like, oh boy, now you're going to have to go through all this again next year,
Michael Bureau, one-time commit, decommit, back to commit. What is the skinny on this commitment?
There is no skinny on McCae Bureau. He's like sick. He's huge. He's like 6'5", 380 pounds. He's basically like the Watson kid, Desmond Watson, all over again. A lot of potential. I don't know that he's dominated at the high school level, but some guys have to get a fire lit under them. Some guys mature mentally, physically at different rates, obviously. But they've seen a lot of him at one time. Georgia, absolutely, and some others too. So, that's a guy, again, a big guy that's going to be a guy you put in the middle, have him take on a couple blockers, and you hope that the guys around him can make all the plays. I mean, theoretically, you'd like him to get in the backfield and make some plays too, but a guy that size probably isn't going to, he can move pretty well, by the way, but a guy that size is really in there to establish a situation where he's taking on a couple blocks and freeing up other people, right? Mm-hmm. And so, you theoretically, you've signed some pretty good defensive linemen the last couple of years. They should be, by the time McCae Bureau's ready to play and contribute, they should be guys that can be forces on the inside of the line with him. So we'll see. Good pickup.
And then Florida, we already spoke about Florida's first running back commit. The Gators get a flip. Jaden Ball, long-time Arkansas commit, took a visit to Alabama. Florida felt good, but anytime a kid is in T-Town the day or the weekend before signing day, they're a major player. Miami loses a running back commit in Perry. I think that's his name, Keith.
Kevin Riley
to Alabama. So Alabama had 2 running backs on campus last week. One goes to Florida, one goes to Alabama. What do the fans need to know about Jaden Ball?
Yeah, he's really good. I mean, he's kind of like him and Miles Graham are like almost like mirror images. Miles is they both played both ways. And they both made a ton of plays on both sides of the ball. They both were the best player on their high school team, which both teams, I think, made it to the state semifinals. They were the best players on their teams on each side of the ball. That's how good these guys are. So he's 6'2", 215 pounds. He's the big running back that people like to have. All right. They like to have those guys. You want to have the fire and ice. You want to have the guy that can pound it in there, and the guy that can wear down a defense, and then the quick guys that can get you those big runs in the second part of the game. But he can inflict damage on a defense. He also played safety this past year. The game I was at, dove for an interception. Had a handful of tackles, rushed for a couple 100 yards, had a 50-plus yard reception, a 90-yard touchdown run. I mean, the guy does it all. And here's what I really like, Nick. Again, we talk about this, changing the culture. I mean, I keep hearing about it. I ain't seen any results on the field, but they keep telling us that there's a change in culture in the building, and you have to take them at their word. This is the kind of guy that can help change the culture, though. I believe that firmly, like Miles Graham. When I saw these guys play their last games, they both lost in the state semifinals, devastating fashion. These guys were inconsolable after the games, Nick. Jaden Ball did not want to leave the field. 3 people had to basically carry him off. He was devastated. He left everything on the field. He is a winner. He plays hard every snap, and he's a badass on the football field. That's the combination I like. Okay, that's why Alabama went after him. That's why Alabama went after him. And he's something else now. Is he going to be ready to play in year 1? He thinks he will be. His family thinks he will be. And you look at that Florida running back room without ETN. I mean, there's some pretty good players. I mean, Montrell Johnson's a good player. Webb is unproven. Cam Carroll's coming back from an injury. I mean, this guy's going to have a chance to play and maybe play a lot next year.
Charlie is collecting $1 from you, Keith. He accepts Venmo. He accepts checks. He accepts Cash App. However you want to do it, Apple Pay. All right, let me do a quick rundown here, Keith. Florida has collected signatures from more than the guys that are public, but have collected and publicized signatures from linebacker Miles Graham, tight end Amir Jackson, linebacker Aaron Childs, offensive tackle Fletcher Westfall, running back Kanan Daniels, edge Brian Taylor, wide receiver Jeray Hawkins, wide receiver Tawaski Abrams, running back Jordan Ball, offensive tackle Marcus Mascall, safety Josiah Davis, cornerback Teddy Foster, and defensive lineman Micah Boudreaux, offensive lineman Noel Portageon, who, might I add, the number 1 offensive tackle in the country. Yes, of Germany. Offensive tackle Mike Williams, still waiting on DJ Lagway, LJ McCrae, and Isaiah Williams. They have signed all 3 of their transfer portal commitments in Triques Bridges, Brandon Crenshaw Dixon, and Joey Slackman. Because of the 2 decommitments, Florida is now down on our On3 industry rankings, down to 15th nationally and 9th in the SEC. That's not going to get the job done.
Can I say one thing, Nick?
1 second. 18 commitments, 3 transfers. That's 21 total right now. Go ahead.
When you look at the rankings, I wanted to see who they'd be when they fell, where they would be, and who they would be next to. And, right now they're still and I will say back and forth. One day I'm negative, Niebuhr, and you're negative, Nick, but we're always trying to balance it out, right? And Michigan's ranked like 17th the last I checked. But again, I haven't seen any panic on their message boards. They know what to do with those players. So the key for Florida again is that they've got some difference makers in this class, some potential difference makers. Hold on to LJ McCrae, do well in the portal, and kind of regroup and go out there. Now next year, Nick, they're going to have to play the long game, man. They're 11-14. I don't think 4 stars and 5 stars are going to be falling in line to commit this next cycle. So Florida and Florida fans are probably going to have to be patient and play that long game, sort of like what some schools did this cycle to Florida. And but I think it's going to be a big challenge the next cycle, Nick. This was really the year where you thought, man, they could really put together a top 5 class. I think the end of the season hurt them, and coaching changes and all that stuff. It just all worked together against them. I don't know the extent NIL has hurt Florida here. I don't know that, but
well, Keith, we've got breaking news. So while I have you here, Gregory Smith has committed to the University of Florida part of that defensive back, the no-fly zone they're trying to build there. Tell us a little bit about Gregory Smith.
He's an interesting prospect. Usually I don't get too crazy, Nick, about the guys that get eval'd and get offers their last season, because it's kind of like sometimes these schools try to tell you, oh, we found this guy. And it's like, well, yeah, but maybe you didn't find this guy if you didn't have to find him. In other words, you didn't lose some other guys. But remember, they offered him well before Xavier Filsaime was even wavering and looking at other schools. They offered him in early October. He visited right away. Florida immediately became the favorite. They've wanted him all along. So why does he not have that great offer list? He didn't start playing defense until this past season. He's always been a quarterback, and a really good one at Sumner High School in Riverview, Florida. So this season, his coaches said, hey, let's give you a shot at defense. Let's play some safety. And halfway through the season, he put some great film out there. Florida, Texas A&M, Virginia, other schools like that jumped in, offered him Ole Miss as well. And Florida just fell in love with him. He's 6'3.5", 6'4", 195 pounds, probably raw, but a natural athlete. And you talk about a winner. This guy's been just led his team to like an 11-2 season as the quarterback. I like that. I like a guy. Hey, Nick, I will say this. I mean, we got to be positive when we can here. Florida has had some good success with high school quarterbacks becoming defensive backs at the Swamp. Joe Hayden was one, right? There's been a lot of them, okay? And so I feel like Florida has found somebody that they really love in Gregory Smith. So
positive Niebuhr.
Yeah.
We're going to flip the narrative. All right, we are at 2:17 right now. Billy Napier will speak in about 2.5 hours. Corey and Keith are pumping out updates by the minute over on Gators Online. You can sign up today for half off for a year. $1 gets you 1 month, and we'll be live again after Billy Napier's press conference, and we'll have updates on Gators Online. So for Keith Niebuhr, Nick Delatorre, thanks for tuning in.
Take care, everybody.